Good morning, New York Mets Nation, and welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry, and happy Hump Day, right? I hope everybody's doing well. I hope your New Year's went well. Uh, New Year, new me, all that good stuff, yeah. New Year's resolutions, believe in them, don't believe in them, whatever. Uh, Everybody has their own thing, and including the old Bat Fry. I have my thing, what I believe in, and whatnot, and I don't know if I 100 agree or believe in the whole New Year's resolution type thing. Like, yeah, you make a goal. I believe in goals, and that's kind of what a New Year's resolution is. And it's cool setting a goal and whatever. And if it fails, it fails. It happens, and and you just have to be careful, set realistic goals and or resolutions, whatever you want to call them, after the new year. And if it's going to the gym and maybe don't go 5 times a week, for the first month, and it's easy to get sick of it real quick. Maybe start off at 2 3 days and see how it goes, and go from there. So whatever. I don't know. I don't know why I started off the show with that, but hey, we're here to talk Mets baseball, right? Of course, the big talk yesterday and for the last since the season ended, basically was the Mets and Pete Alonso. Are the Mets bringing him back? Is Pete going to re-sign? What is Pete looking for? And we heard some reporting yesterday that Pete. Well, I shouldn't say Pete. I guess Pete's agent, I should say. It's reported that they're looking for the Prince Fielder deal, and then that name popped up 10 million times yesterday, and it's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Since Prince Fielder retired. Quite a few years ago. I guess probably about 10 years, over 10 years ago, or whatever it is. And, the Prince Fielder deal was, 9 years, 212, 214 million, something like that. A huge contract. And Prince, when he signed that contract, was like 27, 28 years old. And he only made about halfway through before he had to retire due to injury, a spinal issue, and what have you. And, and I don't know if his agent was Scott Boras or not. I don't think it was. I could be wrong. That's who Pete's agent is. But that's the contract that was reported yesterday that Pete's looking for. And I mean, I don't know. There's when there's contracts, when there's the free agents out there, and there's teams that are trying to get a player to lower what they're looking for. There's a lot of smoke that's put out there. And, I get it. Where there's smoke, there's fire, but you have to be careful what you believe. I don't believe for 1 second that Scott Boras and Pete Alonso are looking for a 9 year, $214 million deal. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Now, if you would say they're looking for a 7 year deal, all right, I can kind of sit with that. But the 9 year, 200, that just doesn't. I don't feel like that's what they're looking for. It just doesn't make sense to me. And by everybody's reaction, doesn't make sense to a lot of people. And there's no way Pete's going to get 9 years, 214 million from anybody. Not let alone the Mets. Nobody's going to give him that. Whether a lot of people bash the Anaheim Angels for their odd signings and crazy signings, crazy contracts over the years, or stupid contracts, whatever you want to say. Uh, even they wouldn't sign him to a 9 year, $214 million deal. And so yeah, so just be careful what you believe. Whether or not that's a factual asking price what they've been looking for. I don't know for sure. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Like I said, there's always smoke screens put out there, or false information to kind of have a fan base or turn up the heat, turn on a player or turn up the heat on the player, kind of give them a lot of grief, and kind of knocks the player's price down, or or just makes them look like the bad guy. Hey, if you're not going to come back, we're going to make you like the bad guy. I don't think that's something that Stearns does. I don't know. I don't know either, but I just feel like it's false information coming from somewhere, and whether or not that's the Mets front office, which they're usually pretty tight lipped. So I mean, it's since Steve Cohen's bought the team, there hasn't been many leaks, if any leaks. I'm sure there's been some sort of leaks, here and there. We all remember the contract last year, the talk that I don't remember who leaked it or said it, that Pete rejected the Mets 7 year, $158 million contract offer. Well, that was kind of like a leak, but it wasn't a leak. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. And you don't know exactly where that information came from. That come from you know Pete's old agent. Because I guess he was with a different agent back then when he received that contract offer before he signed with Boris. So you don't know exactly where that came from. So you don't know if that's a Mets leak or a different type of leak. But this guy had privileged information, and he let everybody have that information. Really don't know what to believe. But I would think that if anything, if he's not going to sign with the Mets and he's going to get a long-term deal, if he gets a long-term deal, I don't see it going past 7 years. I think 7 years would be max, and then I think 7 years makes sense. Now, if you're 5 years into that deal, and if Pete's still raking, you could easily see him restructure for another year or two, to add on to that, make it stretch it out to an 8 year, 9 year deal then possibly. But until then, I just can't see a 9 year deal being in that man's future, which is unfortunate, for him, because that's a lot of money that he could have made, but it is what it is. That's where the market's that's what the market's dictating his worth is. And again, I say this every show. I'm a big Pete Alonso fan. I think he's worth more than what he's been offered, but I'm a little bit biased. It's harder for me to give an unbiased opinion because I'm not a professional podcaster. I'm a fan that enjoys talking about my favorite teams, and one of my favorite teams are the Mets. And currently my favorite player that was on the Mets, he's not currently a Met right now, is Pete Alonso. So I don't get paid to do this, so I don't see any reason why I need to be unbiased. So most of my bias is with Pete, and I'd like to see the Mets re-sign Pete. And now if the Mets don't re-sign him, Pete, then it is what it is. I'm forever going to be a Mets fan. That's just the way it is. And but we'll see what happens. It's getting old. It's getting old fast. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sure, like most of you fans are. You're sick of hearing about it. You're sick of talking about it. Is he going to sign? Is he not going to sign? What's this offer? What's that? The offer, I guess last week or 2 weeks ago, that he supposedly turned down was 3 years, $90 million. I don't know if that's true or not. Again, who knows? That's a pretty high AAV, but the years aren't there. And if he wants the years, so if he wants the years, it kind of um, begs the question: why did he turn down the 7 year deal? $158 million, which is a pretty good uh, AAV in itself. Maybe not quite what he wanted, but it's still pretty good. And if it's just the years, I it's not going to happen. If it's factual that he's looking for 9 years, $200 million plus, it's not going to happen. And and again, he could do another prove it year. He's still not going to get 9 years, $200 million. If he goes out there and hits 50 home runs and has 130 RBI, hits 250, 260, he's still not going to get a 9 year, $200+ million deal. It's just not going to happen. And it's unfortunate. It's a bit of a bummer, but we'll see what happens. For everything you hear, the Mets are still a front runner to re-sign Pete, and the Mets still need another big bat there in the middle of their lineup. Even though they gave basically $750 to Juan Soto, they still need another bat there. Juan's going to get on base a lot, so somebody's going to knock in a lot of runs. Francisco getting on base at a really good clip. Juan Soto, his career numbers say he gets on a lot. and so there's going to be traffic on the base paths, and so somebody's going to benefit from that. Whether that's going to be a Vientos or Nimmo or or other. I'd like to plug Pete in there, but it could be anybody. Bregman. You keep hearing rumors swirling about Bregman. Still being in the Mets crosshairs, and now the latest rumors were the Mets looking to possibly trade for Vlad Guerrero Jr. Great young talent. Absolutely great young talent. But here's the other thing is, you know, he's coming up in the last year of his contract, and the rumors are that he's going to be looking for north of $500 million. Like, Jesus criminy. The amounts of money that these guys are signing for nowadays are just absolutely insane. I mean, if you're under 25 and you're a phenomenal baseball player, you're about to cash out really, really well, and you're coming up on your free agent year. But if you're 25 and you're just coming into the league and you're not really established yet, the team has control over you for 4 or 5 years. You're going to be in for a bit of a bummer, because you're going to get your year 30, 31 season, and you might be at your peak, but you're not going to get paid like you think you should get paid, because they feel like, all right, this is your peak. And once you're at your peak, you're going to come down the other side. So things are going to start, uh, your numbers are going to start to regress. And, that's what most, analysts, that's what most, you figure GMs and analytical departments, that's how they view it. And that's how they figure it out. And that's how they predict your worth. And, they feel like Pete is on his downslope. Last season, a good bit of a letdown, but there's different factors that go that way into that. It's, could the man not handle the pressure of being on a prove it year? Was the pressure too much for him? He handled pressure well in the playoffs, but that the contract pressure, different type of pressure, money, and where's my next paycheck coming from next year? Who am I going to be? Am I going to be in New York or this, that, the other? I don't know if that's weighed heavy on his mind or not, but that's what a lot of people point to. And it's unfortunate, because I don't think the man's on a downslope. I don't think he's his numbers are going to regress quite the way most analysts, pundits, whoever are viewing it. They're okay, 33 34 home runs this year, and 88 RBI, whatever it was. That's what they're viewing Pete Alonso as moving forward. I'm not buying it. Nowadays, with the way a lot of these ball players take care of their bodies, and training regiments and stuff like that, and how quickly they can change or improve the way they play just by changing diets or changing training regiments or whatever. You can easily see players playing into their late 30s, early 40s, and also still producing at a high clip, especially into the late 30s. So it's not out of the realm, but he's going to have to prove it again. He's going to have to go out there and say, I'm still that guy that can hit 40 plus home runs and 120 plus RBI, and get on base with your walks, and limit the strikeouts. But I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I got a couple comments here. Cowboy Dave checking in. What's up, Dave? How you doing, buddy? And of course, the terrific Eileen checking in, letting us all know that it is indeed hump day. Yes, it is. It is hump day. Starting the day off right with a little bit of Mets talk. So Pete last year, supposedly turned down a 7-year, $158 million deal. This year, a couple weeks ago, the rumor was that he turned down a 3-year, $90 million deal, and he's looking for a 9-year, $200+ million deal. What is Pete Alonso worth? What is he worth? And what's it going to take? And I think it's going to be one of those. And I think it might have been Jeff Passan reporting that he believes that any longer term deal, multi-year deal that Pete Alonso is going to sign is going to be loaded with options, or opt-outs, however you want to say it, whether or not it's a player option or team option. And I don't think that's a bad deal for both. That protects both people. The buyer, the seller, whatever you want to call it. It protects the player, the organization, and I'm fine with that. And if I'm Pete, I'm good with that too. Sign for that 5 or 6 year deal, and I'm cool with a 6 year deal for Pete Alonso. I have no problem with that. So, 6 years and 6 year, $150 million, $160 million. I'm all right with that. He goes out there, he hits like he has in years past, 40 plus home runs, 120, 130 RBI. Then is worth it. If he does that, back to back years or 3 years in a row, which his career stats, minus the COVID season 2020, that's what they've been. They've been 40 plus home run seasons, 100 plus RBI seasons, and last year was the anomaly. Does that mean he hit his peak? In 23 was the peak, and now it's downhill from there? I don't know. I don't think so. I believe in Pete Alonso. I believe the power is still there. Uh, I don't know what the big issue was, but I still think that he can figure it out. And so the way I would set it up, I would set it up. After 2 years, you have a team option. You know, so that'd be 2025, 2026. Then after 26 season, team option. Do they want to keep Pete around for the current contract? How's he performing? Stuff like that. And then if the Mets decide to keep him around, all right, after year 3, now it's a player option. And does Pete want to stay around on the current contract that he's at, or does he think he's worth more, or what have you? So he can opt out after 3 years. Then if he decides to stay around, then I think there should be one more option. I think that should be a team option after year 5. And after that, if the Mets decide to keep him around after year 5, well, then it runs the contract runs its course, unless they traded him or whatever, or cut him and decide just to pay him off, and that'd be it. So that's how I think it should be structured. I also think it should be incentive laden, where, Larry, if you say it's a $160 million contract, a lot of that $160 million comes through incentives, where it's okay, if you hit 40 home runs this season, that's just like the Juan Soto deal I went over with, where there's a crap ton of incentives to take his contract from 765 million to 810 million, or whatever it was, 805, 810. And I think Pete should have a contract structured something like that, where it might be a $125 million contract overall, or not overall, initially, but he has the opportunity to earn to $160 million. So I mean, that's another way for a prove it type deal, where it's not a 1 or 2 year deal with an incentive to opt out or whatever, where he almost kind of gets his long term deal, he almost kind of gets his money, and he can prove it that he's worth it. So I don't know. It's though there's a bunch of different options, and that's how I look at it. But 9 years, $200+ million is just ridiculous. And if that's what it takes to get Pete to be a Met, then I'm not down with that at all. And it's a bummer for me to say that, because I'm a big Pete fan, but it is what it is. And I also don't want to pay $500 million for Vlad Guerrero either. And I get it. He is super young, 25, 26 years old. But I mean, there has to be a line somewhere, right? And there has to be a line somewhere. And, $765 million to Soto, and then $500 million plus to Vlad Guerrero Jr. That's and not to mention what Lindor's making, and Nimmo, and I'm not sure what their contracts were off the top of my head now. I'm not. I don't remember what it was exactly. So, but are the Mets? What would it cost the Mets to trade for Vlad Guerrero if for some reason they decide, all right, Pete, if that's what you want, you're nuts, we're moving on from you. We put together a package for Vlad Guerrero Jr. What's that going to take? Is that going to clear out the farm system, or are there major league ready players that the Blue Jays would take as well? I mean, I think that'd be the last thing you'd want to do, just for one guy. Is clear out your farm system of top prospects, of 3 or 4 guys that might be in your top 20, 25 or whatever, that you're viewing as the potential future of your of your team. So I don't know. I don't think that's the way to go either. And it's almost better just to wait to see if he goes to free agency next year if they don't trade him, and or even wait till the trade deadline too. I mean, that's another possibility as well. Let's say for instance, um, the Mets, don't get Alonso, don't get Bregman, and they end up, either moving the Vientos to first base and having Beatty or or somebody else playing third base. Acuna, Beatty, or um, Ronnie Mauricio, or somebody like that playing third base. Is that let's say halfway through the season, it's just not working out. It's not working out. Vientos is stinking it up at first base. Still playing well, still batting well, hitting well at the plate. Uh, you know, Third base isn't doing all that well either. We need to get Vientos back over there to his natural position. So we got to make a trade. Let's then maybe Vlad Guerrero is available then for a half a season, and the stretch run there at the end of the season. So it's second half, and when it's super important. So I mean, that could be a possibility as well. I doubt it, but I just don't see the Mets trading for Vlad Guerrero. The one thing I think it was the Locked On Mets podcast was talking about it. It could have been that, or I don't. Yeah, I think it was Locked On Mets uh, with Ryan Finkelstein saying that Vlad Guerrero seems to have a pretty strong connection with the Boston Red Sox, and for a bunch of different reasons. So who knows? Uh, what else we got going on here? The Mets, Tanner Scott and the Mets are supposedly meeting up. I guess Tanner Scott will meet with a couple other teams. He seems to be the top bullpen prospect out there right now. Um, Free agent, I should say, best bullpen free agent out there right now. Left-handed pitcher. Last season split time between Miami and San Diego. At a 1.75 ERA, 72 games pitched, 72 games. He pitched in 72 innings pitched. He only gave up 3 home runs, 36 walks, 84 Ks, a 1.125 WHIP, 10.5 Ks per 9, and 2.33 Ks for every walk. Pretty good stats there. In 2023, pretty good as well. 2.31 ERA, and a bunch of good numbers after that. The big thing with him, great fastball, live fastball, gets it up in the zone, 99 mile an hour plus. Got some cheddar. He got some cheddar, 4-seam fastball, and also has a terrific slider. I was watching some highlight clips of him throwing, and that fastball, he gets up in the zone, unhittable, and then he drops that slider down and away. Good night. Good night. So that's gonna be a really good pickup, a really good pickup for the Mets for that bullpen, which is probably the Mets by the end of the season was their greatest weakness on the team. What was the bullpen, and I felt like early in the season, I felt like our starting pitching was a big weakness, and our bullpen was holding strong for the most part. But by the end of the season, our starting pitching was fantastic, but our bullpen was very much lackluster. Not everybody, but I'd say half. A good portion of the bullpen was just not performing well. Then there was a ton of injuries throughout the bullpen. Late, I'd say second half, quite a few guys that were performing well, then going on the IL and not being able to come back in time at the end of the season. So, but looking at the Mets rotation right now, starting rotation after the Mets re-signed Manaea. I don't think I've been on since the Mets re-signed Manaea. I don't remember. Mets re-signed Manaea, in case you didn't know. Senga, Manaea, Frankie Montas, David Peterson, Clay Holmes, and Paul Blackburn, currently on the injured list. I think they're predicting him to be back, probably sometime in May. So he could be your number 6 starter. But until then, who's your 6th starter? Because we all know you have Kodai Senga pitching. He's used to pitching that every 6th day, which again, this will be his technically his 3rd season with the Mets. Even though he only pitched 1 game during the regular season last year due to injury. He should be used to pitching less than every sixth day or whatever, once a week. It should be adjusted by now. I don't understand why there's no you know let's fix this and just go with the 5-man rotation when need be. And can he do that? When the Mets tried doing it early in 2023, his rookie year, it wasn't going so well. But when they switched it to where he was pitching every sixth, seventh day, it was a huge turnaround. So there has to be a way to get him up to speed where he doesn't need that extra day or two off and still pitch just as effectively. So, but I mean, there's a bunch of other starting pitching options. Tyler McGill, Jose Budo, but they're expected, I think, to start in the bullpen, and also the minor leagues. Brandon Sproat, he's probably the Mets. I think definitely their top pitching prospect. I'm not sure if he was the top prospect overall or not, but there's always him as well, and other minor league starting pitchers that could always pop up and grab some time as well until we figure this out. But the starting pitching, and you look at it like last year, didn't look like it was going to be a strength, and it ended up being one of our greatest strengths heading down the stretch run. But if Senga can return to 2023 form, hell, I mean, that'd be fantastic. If Senga is able to replicate 2023, Minaya is able to keep going on from what he did last season. Same thing with David Peterson. And then we can get Frankie Montas back on track and see what Clay Holmes actually has. Clay Holmes spent the majority of his career, I guess all of his career, in the bullpen. And let's see what he has. Hopefully he doesn't fall flat on his face where he needs to be moved back to the bullpen. That'll really put the Mets in a bind. But then again, I think I don't think they're going to. I really don't see them signing any more starting pitching this offseason unless it comes out of a great deal. Something late. Maybe late spring training, sometime during spring training. There's maybe a starting pitcher out there that didn't sign anywhere and just looking to get on a team for a season, and the Mets get a great deal. Then maybe then, but I just don't see it. But I could see a trade deadline is where the Mets make a move for a top of the line type starting pitcher. Where we've been hearing so much about Luis Castillo, I haven't heard so much the last week or two about it. But we heard a lot of chatter about Luis Castillo and what would it take for the Mets to trade for him. The Mets have a trade in place. They don't have a trade in place. They had a trade in place last year. They didn't have a trade in place last year. All this and other nonsense. You don't know what to believe half the time. But I do think that if they're struggling with starting pitching, the back half of their starting pitching, I would not be surprised at all if they looked at trade for a top of the line starting pitcher at the trade deadline. Excuse me. What's up, Jonathan? How you doing, buddy? Happy New Year to you as well. Thanks for checking out the show. Great to hear from you, see you again. Good stuff. I'm telling you what, John, it is freezing here in the Northeast, and I hate it so much. I used to love the cold. Used to dig it, but I'm over it, man. I hate the cold. Hate the snow now. I'm becoming a grumpy old man. So, yeah, it's a bummer. I hate January. I hate January and February so much now. I used to love this time of the year, snowboarding and all that good stuff, and just out messing around in the snow, especially when I was a kid, of course. So that's why I figured you probably live somewhere in the Northeast. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you were in New York City or not, but it's the whole Northeast, area is just, frigid right now. So cold. I get a Snuggie for the cold days. I do. I blanket up. I blanket up pretty hard. I don't have a Snuggie, but usually I throw on a pair of jogging pants and, throw the blanket over until I have to go to work. And then I usually right now I'm wearing shorts. So I'm here bitching about the cold and I'm wearing shorts, but I usually wear shorts at work, and so and it's like it's one of those deals. Like, oh man, I hate the cold so much, but I only have to deal with it for a couple minutes going from my truck to inside the building, and then I'm good to go because it's I wouldn't say it's toasty in the building, but it's warm enough where it doesn't bother you. And so, but now I'm at home and I'm still in the shorts and my legs are freezing. It's like, oh man. And it's my legs. I never thought my legs would be cold. My legs are usually not all that cold. I'm shorts all year round kind of guy, but I've been wearing a lot of jeans lately, a lot of jeans, and I don't like it. I'm not used to it. So, so John, you're living in New York City. You're a Mets fan, I assume, or maybe you're just a fan of me, but I assume you're a Mets fan since you're checking out the Batcave. What are your thoughts on the rumors yesterday that Pete Alonso, Scott Boras are looking for a 9 year, 214, 212, whatever it was, $1 million deal? Uh, Crazy, not crazy, doable, not doable. I think it's insane. I think it's insane. I don't think it's real. I don't. I feel like it's smoke screens or just false information being thrown out there. I don't know. I don't know why they do it. To be honest with you, I have no idea why they do it, but it happens every year when there's a big time free agent out there. You hear about some sort of crazy deal or asking price, and you're like, what the hell are they thinking? And then a week or two later, they're signed for something that makes a lot more sense. And so it's I don't buy the fact that they're looking for 9 years, 200 plus. I mean, Scott Boras, a lot of people don't like Scott Boras. He's a sneasel, he's a snake, whatever. But he's not stupid. He's not stupid. And 9 years, $214 million is stupid, for where Pete's at right now. So I want the Mets to make Pete a forever Met. He deserves it. And I agree. I'm a big time Alonso fan. I want Pete Alonso to be a Met until he retires. I cannot see 9 years, 200 plus $1 million. I just can't. I can't see it. I just it does, especially after giving Juan Soto 760 plus million. I can't see. I can't see them signing Pete for 9 years, 200 plus $1 million. It doesn't make sense to me. Paying him that much money up until he's 39, 40 years old. But again, that's kind of what you're going to be paying Juan Soto as a 15-year deal. So you're going to be paying him until he's 40 years old. What's the back end of that contract going to look like? But I get it. You're not really paying. You're not signing Juan Soto for the back end of his 15-year deal. You're signing Juan Soto for the first 10 years of his deal. So Pete, I mean, like I was just saying, I don't know if you were watching yet or not. Uh, Pete, I could see a 6 year deal. I'm fine with a 6 year deal. I have no problem with 6 years, 7 years. But I have options in there. Have options. So where potentially they can either renegotiate. After 2 years, Pete has the option of opting out. Because he feels like he's exceeded to what he was to what the deal originally was, 6 year, 7 year, whatever have you, and so they can renegotiate, or even a team option, where hey, you didn't live up to it, we need to cut you, or renegotiate to a smaller type deal. So I have no problems with an option type deal where there's a bunch of different options in it, where the player can opt out, team can opt out, whatever it is. But I want Pete, there, and I want to see the Pete Alonso, just like we have David Wright. It was announced David Wright, they're retiring his jersey and they're inducting him into the Mets Hall of Fame on July 19th, I think, against the Reds. I want to see that for Pete Alonso, in 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is, as the Mets all-time home run leader, all-time RBI leader, this, that, and the other. I want to see Pete Alonso, his number, retired, and him being inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame, and him being able to be a one team guy, only a Met, not a Met and somebody else. So, but Again, the Mets are still predicted as the front runner to re-sign him, but 9 years, $200 million, it's just not going to happen. I feel Pete should take 10 years, $150 million. And I guess if it was something like that, even if like the 9 year deal, it had to be a whole bunch of deferred money. Um, deferred money. I guess so it would kind of um, not be as bad. I guess in the beginning. I mean, I'm not a mathematical wizard by any stretch of the imagination. Uh, 10 years, $150 million. That's actually the AAV isn't all that bad. What is that? That's 15 million a year, right? Like I said, I'm not a mathematical genius, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. That's a low AAV, but I mean, if I'm Pete, I would set that up where maybe have like the first 2 or 3 years be high in value, and then the last so many years being super low. Like the first 3 years, out of that $150 million, first 3 or 4 years, you know, maybe you know out of 150, that's 90 million. Then your last 5 6 years is whatever's left over, 40 million. I mean, that's a super low uh, yearly salary for a professional baseball player. But for somebody like me, I'd take that in a heartbeat. But anyway, but yeah, and that's the other thing. If it is going to be a long term deal and it's going to be something like that, it's going to have a lot of deferrals, and that seems to be the popular thing to do now. So, and I wouldn't doubt it at all uh, if that's something that does come about. If it is okay, we'll give you 7 years, 8 years, 160, $175 million, but it's going to be heavy deferral. It's going to be you know options and all the crazy mumbo jumbo they throw in these contracts nowadays. And I think Pete's, like I said, I don't think Pete's on the downswing. I just think he had a rough season, which again, 33 home runs, 88 I think it was 33 home runs, 88, 87, 88 RBI, whatever it was. He hit 240. Um, the OPS was down. Yes, it was like 778. I have his stats right here. I should just flip the page on my notebook here. 240, 34 home runs, 88 RBI, 329 on base, 459 slugger, 788 OPS, 70 walks, 172 strikeouts, 46.5% hard hit percentage, 21.4% of his hits were opposite field. So that's one thing I was looking at in advanced stats on what is it? I think it was baseballreference.com. And I was looking at Pete Alonso's advanced stats, and I'm like including myself, saying Pete needs to start going opposite field with these pitches. And then I was looking at his career, and uh, this past season was, I think, the second highest percentage of his hits to the opposite field. I'm like, well, damn, I guess he was taking it to the opposite field. But I also feel like this season was the most I've ever seen him get pitched low and away. And it appears like he's trying to pull it instead of just taking, again, if you play baseball, you know one of the things you learn as a hitter is you know they throw it outside, we'll take it to right field. They throw inside, pull it to left field. So they throw you outside, he should be taking that ball to right center, right field. And it just seemed like he wasn't, but according to the stats, he was. Maybe there was just more opportunity there, I'm not sure. I don't know. um, but it needs to be better. And again, I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Mets do re-sign him and Pete comes back next year, hits 240 again, which I think that's just what his average is going to be, but hits over 40 home runs and has 120, 130 RBI next season. It wouldn't surprise me at all. His OPS in the 850s, 860s, and everybody can put their foot in their mouth. So that's what I'm hoping for anyway. That's what I want to see for Pete, and that's what I definitely want to see for the Mets. Because if Pete's doing that in the middle of the lineup for the Mets, everything's going well. Everything's going very, very well then. Jonathan says, here's my lineup for the 2025: Lindor, Bregman, Soto, Alonso, Vientos, Nimmo, Alvarez, Siri, and McNeil. Whenever I uh, see Jeff McNeil's name, I always hear, what is it, Back to the Future 2? When Marty McFly is getting fired for, what were they going to do? It was him and, oh shit, what the hell was the guy's name? Uh, I think for some reason I think Flea played him, but I could be wrong. I can't think of what the guy's name is, but they were gonna do something like embezzle money or something like that. The company or whatever it was, and the boss was listening in, and Marty McFly didn't know it, and all of a sudden you hear he hangs up, and all you hear is McFly, and so whenever I hear that, I see McNeil's name, I hear McNeil. So I don't know. If you know, you know. That's what I'm going to say. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, go back and watch Back to the Future Part 2. I think it's Part 2. Yeah, it's definitely Part 2. It's definitely Part 2. So, but that's a good lineup. I have a hard time seeing them signing Alonso and Bregman yet. I think it's one or the other. But it's definitely 100% solid. I mean, I'd assume if that's your lineup, then Vientos is probably your DH or your rotate DH with Vientos and either Bregman or Alonso. I mean, but Bregman's a hell of a fielder, so I don't know why you'd take him off the field at all. But yeah, Siri in center field, Nimmo in left, McNeil, I guess would be. Where would McNeil be? Would he be? So yeah, oh yeah, he'd be second base. You have Soto out in right field, or even Soto could be your DH. Now that'd be one too many fielders then. Yeah, that's what. Unless I don't think Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, you wouldn't put Bregman at second base. But yeah, so yeah, Soto would be out in right field. I don't know why I had a brain fart there for a second. Starting pitching, Dylan Cease or Luis Castillo. I didn't know, is Dylan Cease on the market? Like, is he? Are they shopping him around? I didn't know. I haven't heard anything about that, but of course, the Luis Castillo. I've been hearing a lot about that. Of course, Senga, Manaya, Peterson, Holmes, and Buto. So what? Where do you have Frankie Montas? Is he not? Does he go to the bullpen? Is he just out? Period. But I mean, the Dylan Cease, Luis Castillo, absolutely. Either one of them, I'd absolutely take it. And depends on what we'd have to give up for him. That's where I would go with it. I just hate to dump a whole bunch of you know prospects that the Mets have been steadily building up in their farm system. It's probably the best farm system that I can remember. And I don't wasn't as a baseball fan really following the farm system all that long, so I don't really pay attention to it until recently, until I started actually doing this and just realized how important the farm system is. And but before that, but I mean, I just can't remember the Mets ever really having too many young players coming up and making a huge impact. Minus like your David Wright and Jesus, I can't think of his name right now. Um, Shit, I can't think of his name. He was our shortstop with David Wright. Oh God, I can't think of his name. I can picture him. His name's right there on the tip of my tongue. But I keep wanting to say Lindor. It's God damn it, Francisco, get out of my head. I don't remember. I give up. But yeah, so I mean, the one thing is with the starting pitching there, like I said about Frankie Montas and Clay Holmes being a bullpen guy, first year starter. It's going to be interesting to see what he's able to do. If he's able to um, fall right into that role as a starting pitcher and not having any or very few bumps in the road, that'd be awesome. But if he goes out there and he struggles, it's just going to be it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with him. If they move him back to to the bullpen or not. And yes, thank you, Jonathan, very much. Jose Reyes was the name. Yes, I mean, I could see him. I could see his number and everything like that. I couldn't. Yeah, Lindor kept popping in my head. It's like, no, it's not Lindor. Stop it. But that's just how my mind works. Uh, Padres ownership is fighting for control. Ceases on his walk here. So yeah, so I guess the right deal comes along on somebody on his final season there. Uh, you would listen to pretty much anything, get anything you can for him. Bregman Alonso market has crashed. They are taking the Boers special 3 years with opt outs every year, which I guess for the most part has probably worked out for most of his clients. I mean, that's one thing last season when guys like Chapman, the pitcher that went to Los Angeles, he signed with the Giants, went to Los Angeles. Blake Snell. Um, there was another guy or two that were expected to have huge contracts but didn't get them. That were Boris clients, and the talk was Scott Boris loses touch, or the teams on to him now, and then we're back to this. Juan Soto gets a huge deal, and Scott Boris is the snake in the grass, weasel, sneasel, and everybody hates him again. So everything's right in the world, I guess, when everybody hates Scott Boris. Montgomery was another pitcher. He's not on the market. He was did he sign with Texas last year? Or no? It wasn't Texas. Was it Arizona? I think he came from Texas. I don't know. Bellinger, yeah. So I think that's what you mean there, Belly. The D-backs. Okay, that's why I thought I said Texas at first, but I think he came from Texas, and for some reason I felt like he was with the Diamondbacks. And what do you think about San Francisco signing Justin Verlander? Is Max Scherzer is he going to retire? Do you think Scherzer's going to find somebody as well? I was actually I saw a report before Verlander signed that there was a chance the Mets might be interested in a 1 year deal with Verlander, which when he pitched for the Mets, he wasn't all that bad. He pitched. I thought he pitched well. Not up to what you were hoping for from this, the season he had with the previous year with the Houston Astros, where it was the AL Cy Young and it was a sub-2 ERA and all that good stuff. But he would have been a nice plug into the rotation there, especially with a 1 year deal. But him signing with the Giants, I was kind of surprised by that, and but not surprised he's still in the league. He's still a very serviceable, good pitcher. So with a ton of experience and a ton of knowledge and all that good stuff. It's just too bad that Scherzer wasn't such a dickhead, or I'd say bring him back. But I'm not a Scherzer fan. He is the epitome of, if you open up a dictionary, it says dickhead. I just picture Scherzer's face there. And even Scherzer, he pitched. Scherzer, you have to look at it. He pitched well for the Mets as well. The short time he was here, I just felt like there was times on there where he was a dickhead. Plain and simple. I love the Mets. Doesn't mean I have to love all the players. And I just was not a fan of Scherzer. But if he wins, he wins. He helps us win. I'm cool with it. I can get over it. But once he's not there, dickheads all around. There we go. That's how I view Justin or Max Scherzer. Verlander will probably do well, but the deferrals, I mean, the Dodgers will smack him around. Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, any good hitting team is going to smack him around. But if you look in the NL West, uh, you know, Dodgers, great hitting team. Padres, probably a great hitting team. No, they are a great, not probably, they are a great hitting team. Diamondbacks, they seem to be hot and cold with hitting. Um, the Rockies, so he might do well there in the West. Kind of avoid the Dodgers a little bit, or when you do pitch against them, quick leash, perhaps see how he does there. But he might do well for the Giants in the West, and I'm interested to see how it goes for him. To be honest with you, I really want Pavetta, but he has draft penalties attached to him. And yeah, that's the one thing with the when they decline the qualifying offers. That's the one downside of that is when you sign somebody that declined a qualifying offer, you lose draft picks. And I went over with it before. I don't remember what it was that was um, the penalties. Like I guess if the depends on who the player is, and depends on what the penalty is. Then I think that's how it goes. I don't remember exactly. Like I said, I went over that before when they first put qualifying offers out to everybody, and I'm like, well, this is what this means when they decline the qualifying offers and blah blah blah. I don't remember what it was anymore. Tanner Scott, yeah, I was talking about him before, and I was watching some highlight clips of him, and I tell you what, dude is electric, and back to back, really good seasons. So yeah, I'd like Tanner Scott too. A couple 4 years, $60 million. Sounds about right. It's gonna cost you. It's gonna cost you. He's the top uh, bullpen arm out there right now. So yeah, it's gonna cost you, and I think it'd be worth the cheddar for the Mets bullpen. And looking at the Mets bullpen, the way it sits right now, I think McGill's going to be in the bullpen. Budo, Diaz, of course, closing. Reed Garrett, Daniel Nunez, who he had a good season last year before he got hurt. Sean Reed Foley, small sample size last year, but he didn't look bad. I thought, in my opinion. Jake Diekman. Do the Mets bring back uh, Ryan Stanek or Phil Maton? I liked Stanek. I didn't like Maton. And Brazoban. Don't forget we picked him up last season. I think the Mets still have control over him for a season or two yet. And he is a bit older, but if I remember correctly, uh, he doesn't have as much wear and tear on him as some other players, some other pitchers at his age. I think he's 35, 36, somewhere around there, somewhere in his mid 30s. So, but that's how I view our bullpen right now. I'm sure there's a couple guys that I'm missing as I was looking through the depth chart and whatnot. But those were the guys I feel like are definitely going to be in the bullpen. Diaz, Garrett, obviously Diaz, Budo, McGill, Diaz, Garrett, Nunez, uh, Sean Reed Foley, Diekman, uh, Danny Young. I'm not really sure about him or not. Uh, who else? I think that's it. I don't think I'm missing anybody else that I think is going to be in the bullpen. But then again, with the starting pitching, the starting pitching, like I said, the starting five that I see it right now: Sangam, Manaea, Montas, Peterson, Holmes, with guys that are on roster. Then the Mets also signed Griffin Canning, and they also have Paul Blackburn, like I mentioned before. But Paul Blackburn's not expected to be back, I think, until May. I could be wrong about that. So does Griffin Canning slide into that sixth spot? And the way I view Griffin Canning, I look at Griffin Canning as possibly this year's Adrian Hauser, where just gets absolutely obliterated as a starting pitcher, but it finds himself in the bullpen and does okay in the bullpen until he doesn't, and then they end up DFAing him. So I mean, I wouldn't expect too much from Griffin Canning. It'd be fantastic if he comes out and turns out to be a stud or whatever. That'd be fantastic. That'd be awesome. But I'm looking at him almost as this year's Adrian Hauser, and I was not a fan of Adrian Hauser last. Nobody was a fan of Adrian Hauser last year, so so I wouldn't be surprised if we seen Canning uh, head to the bullpen eventually. And another thing, I wouldn't be too surprised if the Mets are still looking for starting pitching. If it gets to if it does get to spring training or whatever, I wouldn't be surprised if they look at Jose Quintana again, kick the tires around on him. Why not, right? He was phenomenal last year. He turned it around, really well. He had that absolute awful stretch there in the middle of the season, but second half of the season he was just fantastic. He was lights out. So uh, that's always a possibility as well. And again, that'd be just a short term 1 year deal, and look at the starting rotation again next season. So it's going to be it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks here. Hopefully the Pete Alonso stuff's done before, hopefully before the end of January. Jesus, I can't imagine going into February still doing this. I'd be thrilled if it's over within the next week, but I don't know. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take, if this is all Boris, trying to dictate, it's going to take Pete Alonso, putting his foot down, saying, "Hey, this is why this is where I want to go. Let's make it happen for what it is, and we'll figure it out after that." So, whether or not it's an option laden deal like Jonathan mentioned earlier, or whatever, it's just going to be. It's going to be. It is what it's going to be. What it's going to be, and I just hope it's what it's going to be. I'm hoping that it's going to be in the Mets uniform. That's the most important thing. Is to get Pete back in the orange and blue. So, all right, done with my rambling here. Go ahead and kick off some sponsors. We got attorney Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. You reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That phone number, once again, is 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His office in New Jersey is located on Cherry Hill and 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. He has 2 offices in Pennsylvania, one in Pittsburgh on 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And he has one in Philadelphia, and that is located on 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. Make sure to tell Big Al that Out of the Box Sports sent you, and he'll hook you up with a great deal. All right. So if you want to help me out, I'd appreciate it very much. Head on over to www.w.gg. That's hard to say. That is so hard to say. A lot of dubs in there. www.w.gg. Check out W Energy Drinks. A lot of great stuff, great products there. Swag included. Use the promo code at checkout, The Batcave. That's all one word, The Batcave, for 10% off your order. Yeah, like I said, W Energy Drink. I really dig it. All natural, and it's jitterless. It's a jitterless energy drink, and it's exactly what it is. It gives you that boost, and without the palpitations of your heart. So good stuff there. So head on over to w.gg. Use the promo code The Batcave for 10% off your order. Check out of the Box Sports on YouTube and X. Subscribe and follow at OOT Box Sports. That, once again, is OOT Box Sports on YouTube and X. You can follow me on X at The Batcave OOTBS. I appreciate a follow. And also my YouTube channel at The Batcave _OOTBSE. If you don't mind subscribing to that channel, that'd be awesome. I check out all my content, or just follow Out of the Box Sports. Subscribe to their channel. Check out all the Out of the Box content, including my stuff. I also talk Raiders and Las Vegas Raiders and LA Kings, and looking to get back into the wrestling talk. We were doing the Atomic Drop podcast, which is a wrestling podcast. We were doing that every Saturday, but the last couple months kind of took a break from it. Just super busy on the weekend, super busy during the week too. So it's been harder and harder to do this regularly, but I got to figure it out. That, when I beginning of the show, I talked about my New Year's resolutions, how I believe in it, but I don't believe in it, goals and whatnot. But one of my New Year's resolutions was to become more regular with the podcasting, a little bit more, you know, like I was before, where usually Wednesdays at 10 a.m. is when the Batcave was, and then you know everything else had a time, and I was set to that, and I would hit those times. And now it's just it's been a struggle, so I'm going to adjust some times and adjust days and see if I can get to a more regular schedule where it's easier for everybody to follow and figure out when I'm going to be on. So I got a couple more comments before I head out. Excuse me. Steve Cohen is the best. Will you allow corporations like Amazon or Twitter own baseball teams? I don't know. I don't really. I don't think it. Uh, I don't know. I don't see why it would matter. I mean, um, because there's still. I guess it'd be an ownership group then. Like if you're looking at if a corporation owns it. But I mean, if it benefits a team, if it benefits a sport, I don't have a problem with it at all. So I mean, you just have to figure that when you go to that stadium, it's going to be laden with Amazon or Twitter or whatever the corporation is with their with their stuff. Whatever that corporation is. Amazon is going to be laden with Amazon logos everywhere, and you know you know 10% off your Amazon order if you order in house. Amazon Prime's over here. All that good stuff. So yeah, it's I don't have a problem with it as long as it benefits the league and it benefits the team. So it benefits the fans. But if it's something that's going to be a hindrance, or it's going to, let's say the Pirates, are bought out by Amazon. Let's just say that, for whatever, let's say the Pirates are bought out by Amazon, and Amazon is worse than what the ownership group is there now. Won't spend, and you know have that great stadium there, and just keeps fielding year after year, crap teams because they don't want to keep their players or spend on big time free agents. Then I don't see why you'd want a corporation to own the team then. But if they're going to go out there and let's say they buy the Pirates and they turn them into a team that can contend every year, paying their players or bringing in top of the line type free agents, then I think that's fantastic. So it depends on what they're going to do with it. That's all. So, all right. So that's all I have for today. I appreciate everybody for checking the show out. Check me out later on. I'll be talking Raiders, Silver and Black Lair, Las Vegas Raiders. Also have Silver and Black Lair, LA Kings. I'll be going away for a couple days. So I wanted to get on later this morning for the Raiders talk, but I don't think it's going to happen. I have a bunch of stuff I have to do, and I also have to get a little bit of sleep before we leave. So there's that. So we'll see what happens. But until then, until next Wednesday, thank you everybody for checking the show out. And if anything happens with Pete Alonso, if they sign him or whatever, maybe I'll throw out a quick clip on YouTube or whatever, and do it that way until next Wednesday. But I will be live next Wednesday, probably 9 a.m. again, and I think that's probably the easiest route than waiting until 10 a.m. because I've been falling asleep a lot before the show comes on. That's why some Wednesdays I'm not on, and I'm on a different day or whatever, or later in the day, because I end up falling asleep before my start time. So I think if I move the start time up a little bit, it should make things a little bit better. We'll see what happens. All right. So thank you, everybody. And until then, I just got 3 words for you. Let's go, Mets.